The best time of year to live in central Pennsylvania is the week before the 4th of July, and the reason for this is that this is the time for what we call PA Speedweek. Pennsylvania Speedweek is nowadays a 10-race schedule held all within 10 or 11 days leading up to the 4th of July, where all of the central PA dirt tracks come together and band up to form a week-long championship where the best drivers invading from the country come on to play with the PA Posse on their home soil and compete for the grand prize. Now, contemplating this setup, you may be wondering, where did this all come from and how did this all start? Well, I was thinking the same thing to myself just before the 2023 rendition of this series and thought I'd put together the history of Pennsylvania Speedweek. The concept of Pennsylvania Speedweek was brought to fruition in 1991 as Pennsylvania dirt track promoters made an effort to keep the local drivers at home in the come-up of sprint car racing around the country. They came up with the Speedweek formula and implemented it during the week of the 4th of July in 1991. The first race ever was actually held on July 3rd, which was a Wednesday of that year, and Steve Smith won at Williams Grove Speedway. The first Speedweek was only 5 races held at 3 racetracks, Williams Grove, Lincoln, Williams Grove, and Lincoln again, and then ending up at Susquehanna. And only 2 drivers won the races, with Steve Smith taking the first 2 and final race, and Donnie Kreitz Jr. winning races 3 and 4. Steve Smith won the championship that year, and it set the tone for a tradition that has continued on even through COVID in central PA. Since the beginning of Speedweek, we've seen 231 races go at 12 separate dirt tracks, all within the central PA, or Pennsylvania in general, area. None of the tracks get super far out into Western PA, as Western PA actually has their own Speedweek, which maybe isn't quite as well known as PA Speedweek or Ohio Speedweek, but they do a 5-race calendar at racetracks like Tri-City, Lernerville, Knox Raceway has an event, etc., etc. So there have been 12 racetracks, like I said, that have hosted Speedweek events. Williams Grove, Lincoln Speedway, and Susquehanna, now BAPS Speedway, all hosted events in 1991. Silver Spring Speedway and Path Valley were added to the schedule in 1992, along with Hagerstown and Selinsgrove. After them, Grandview was the next addition to the schedule, at least, in 1995, along with Penn National, a now defunct course. Grandview did not get the race in, though, and it rained for 2 years straight. The first actual event held at Grandview for Speedweek was run in 1997. In 1997, Port Royal was also added to the calendar. However, it rained out that year, and in 1998, they fired off their first race. While in 1998, Big Diamond was added to the schedule, but it rained out, and 1999 held its first event. The 12th name added to the list was Bedford Speedway in 2006. However, it rained out as well, and 2007 was when the first official race happened at that track for PA Speedweek history. So we've talked about the tracks. Now let's talk about the drivers who have won at these racetracks. Lance DeWeese has won 31 Speedweek events. He beat the record that was previously held by second place in the total tally, Fred Raymer, back in 2021 when Lance went and swept the Williams Grove events. So Lance has 31, Fred Raymer at 30. The late, great Greg Hodnett has 26 wins to his name during PA Speedweek. And then from 3rd to 4th is a significant drop back to Danny Dietrich, who has scored 12 checkered flags in Speedweek history. Stevie Smith rounds out the top 5 in terms of win numbers. Then comes Kyle Larson with 10 wins in 6th. Brent Marks with 9. Donnie Kreitz Jr. and Keith Kaufman share 8 wins, and Chris Eash rounds out the top 10 in Speedweek wins at 6 event titles. In terms of wins per racetrack, the guys with the most wins at each track of the 12 are the following. Lance DeWeese has 7 wins at Williams Grove. There's a tie at Lincoln with 6 apiece for Fred Raymer and Lance DeWeese. Port Royal has a 3-way tie between Lance DeWeese, Lucas Wolf, and Keith Kaufman for 4 wins at the track during Speedweek. The only driver with a significant number of wins at Hagerstown is Lance DeWeese with 6. When you go to Susquehanna and or BAPS, it is Donnie Kreitz Jr. with 3 wins. At Grandview, the Mac Daddy is Fred Raymer with 5 wins. And at Selinsgrove, he's got himself 7, so he takes that one as well. Nobody has won more than once at Path Valley, but names who have won there include Brady Bacon, Stevie Smith, Greg Hodnett, and Kyle Larson. At Big Diamond, the king was Greg Hodnett. He is the only driver with multiple wins there, and he has 5. Nobody has won more than one event at Bedford. Those 4 that it has hosted are Keith Kaufman, Stevie Smith, Ed Lynch Jr., and Darren Pittmans for the taking. At Penn National, there was only one winner. There were only 2 years that it hosted an event. They were both won in the Brickmobile by Lance DeWeese. And going to Silver Spring, which is unfortunately no longer a racetrack, it is a Wegmans. Fred Raymer has 4 victories. The only other multi-time winner is Chris Eash with 2. Now, when it comes to championships, Fred Raymer has by far the most. He has won 13 titles of PA Speedweek starting in '92, and his last came in 2012, a full 20 years apart. Greg Hodnett has 5 titles to his name starting in '02, and his last coming in 2018. Lucas Wolf has 4 titles, 07, 14, 17, and 19. Lance DeWeese has 3, 97, 99, 01, and Danny Dietrich has 2 in 2016 and 2021. Single-time champions include Steve Smith, Stevie Smith, Keith Kaufman, Kyle Larson, and last year's defending champion, Brent Marks. And with that, this year marks the 33rd Pennsylvania Speedweek held annually in Central PA. My buddy Matt Faust and I are attempting every race of the year, so be sure to check out all those videos that came to you or come to you for the week's time. But that is the history of PA Speedweek. Hopefully you all enjoyed watching, and if you did, give it a like, give it a share, whatever you want to do. It's all good. Spread the word. Make people like sprint cars. Take it easy, everybody. We'll see you in the next video.